In the 70s, 80s, even early 90s in Chicago, the gay community was, of course, incredibly different. Most important, I think, is that we were legally, socially, economically, in every way, second-class citizens.
I think we were also a very active and young and nascent community in terms of needing to build our institutions and our organizations. There were, and still are, a tremendous amount of needs within our community. So we had to really invent our institutions and invent our services and rely largely on volunteerism within our community.
Of all of the earth-shattering changes that our community has been through, probably the most important is the thing that's the least talked about, and that's AIDS. It is such a critical part of how our community got to be who we are today. Only by the incredible force of our own community did we force the world to pay attention.
Because of AIDS, there was increased discrimination and targeting of gay people. So parallel to the fight against AIDS was this growing movement that also was fighting for gay rights. That was for housing, jobs, and public accommodations. So really, it was a pivotal time in the Chicago gay movement.
I have heard many folks over the years talk about that the original community centers for our community were bars, and there's some truth in that, in the sense that the only institution that people in our community had to be around each other were bars and nightclubs.
We did have off and on different community centers over time, but by the early 1990s, as a lot of the resources of the community went to AIDS and the fight for gay rights, the community centers folded.
We had a wonderful organization called Gay Horizons, and Gay Horizons provided counseling services.
Even before it was a community center, it was a center of the gay community. So many things happened there. So many people worked there that were important leaders in the community.
And that was always part of the dream, was to have a community center. And every person I ever spoke with at Horizons probably always talked at some level or dreamed about having a community center. And that was always understood, that the more visible we could be, the more accessible we were.
There was some skepticism that we were really going to be able to do this. Patrick Sheehan always said money follows program. When we showed them how our amazing staff executed those programs in such a miraculous way to change lives, having a place to house them just made sense to the larger foundations.
The first time I saw Center on Halsted was in 2007 when it was brand new. We walked through the doors and everybody our jaws must have hit the floor. It was beautiful, and for us, we hadn't seen this kind of community center before.
The lobby signifies really what this space is all about. I think that the times have certainly changed in terms of the openness with which we can be in society. So these glass walls in this very beautiful building were very significant when we were building it.
10 years ago, we opened the Center on Halsted, and it was the realization of a dream. What's been exciting for me over these 10 years is to see the ever-increasing numbers of people who find the center and come to the center, and the ways in which the center has responded to changing needs of our community.
It is an identifiable resource for people within a community of all ages, ethnicities, backgrounds, socioeconomic status, to be able to come and find each other and find themselves.
The beauty of the center, because we're a community center and because there's a constant influx of people coming in with new ideas in terms of our community members, and because different mainstream organizations come to us because they see us as the hub for our community, our programs are always changing. They're always on that cutting edge so that we can make certain that we are a step ahead.
Organizations that are community-based, like the Center on Halsted, really help us to meet our mission of connecting, partnering, and ultimately being directed and led by the community. And we can't achieve that without community organizations like the Center.
There's a lot of collaboration in the community, much better than it ever was. They are one of the biggest folks at the table. Them and Howard Brown Health and a couple of other organizations, AIDS Foundation, have very large staffs and budgets. So it has to be that we work in coalition with the very small groups that maybe don't have any staff that are working on the more marginal issues of our community. They have to be in coalition with these big ones in order to be effective.
I believe that the Center on Halsted has been extraordinarily successful, and equality that is lived, where people actually can feel in their everyday life that they are not oppressed or second-class citizens. Those kinds of challenges are exactly the kinds of things that the Center on Halsted is here for.
The vision was always to do more and to be more and to have more available to the community. And, you know, certainly the vision of Tico and what he's done has been amazing, and he's done a tremendous job with his leadership.
Everyone who contributed to the work in those days really contributed to the existence of this center today. So many of them are gone, you know, and so many of them died from AIDS, but all of them, and I can think of many, really built this place as much as anybody else.
And it's because of those early pioneers that started Horizons, worked at Horizons, and built it to be strong enough to become the Center on Halsted. So let's not forget the roots of the Center on Halsted and pay tribute to those folks today, as well as make sure we're serving them tomorrow.
When I was at Horizons, there was always a question of whether or not Horizons would continue to exist from year to year. Long after we're gone, I believe this institution will be here, serving a next generation and a generation after that of LGBT people.